My name is Sara Cunningham. My pronouns are she, her, and I live in Oklahoma City. I am a woman of faith. I identify as a Christian. I started my faith walk in a church, a neighborhood church. We could walk there from our home, and it just happened to be a Southern Baptist church. But I didn't pay much attention to the doctrine because I just loved the fellowship there, and I just considered myself a Christian who just happened to go to a Baptist church. I have a gay son. I have 2 children, and our youngest son, Parker, is gay, and he's part of the reason why we're here today. What I've always known about my son, Parker, is that he's very creative, and he's very determined, and he's very transparent, and he's been that way his whole life. But what I didn't know is that God would give me a gay son, because we absorbed this idea that homosexuality is wrong, and that something had to be wrong with my son, or that he was in need of some sort of spiritual fix. And so we raised our children in the church. And then when Parker tried to have those conversations with me, I just manipulated the conversation. I thought it was a phase. I just didn't allow him the space to have the conversation. But he's always stayed true to himself. And it wasn't until he was much older that I was really forced to really listen to him. What I've learned about Parker since he's been out is that he is a man of his word. He's a man of integrity. He's a man who has just always stayed true to himself. But to see him live authentically and happy, that's something that I hadn't seen prior, and that I'm glad to be able to see it and celebrate it with him. I've learned about myself that I can still be a woman of strong faith, a mother, and I've learned that I can experience humanity and what I believe is the power of the Holy Spirit and God to a much greater degree than I ever thought possible. I just experience humanity to a much greater degree. The space that Parker and I are in, that he is now an out gay man living authentically, and me as a woman of faith celebrating my gay son, it has been challenging in 2 ways. The first is that as my son sees me advocate and celebrate this community that I once was not a part of or interacting with at all, and to see me interact that way with young kids, I missed an entire adolescence with my son, you see. So for him to see me now cheer on the younger LGBTQIA plus community, there's a sense of that, missing that from me, because he certainly didn't get it from me. And I'm thankful that he had teachers in his life and other friends that he was safe with at his school or in his place of workplace. But the second part of that is that, I acted in ways and I said some things that were pretty harmful to Parker. And I regret that, and I'm very transparent about that, but it hurt him in ways that we're still working through. And I'm so thankful that I have him, that we're able to talk about these things that hurt him really deeply and for a long time. So it's not all, fun and games, or, we've worked through a lot of things. I mean, there's some damage done, and we've got a lot of work to do, not only between myself and my son, but within the community and the church. I remember when Parker was about 5 years old, was my first glimpse that he might be gay, is that he was upstairs playing with a friend, and they came barreling down the stairs in one of my dresses and a pair of my heels. And he danced around and twirled in that dress, and I had never seen that expression on his face of pure joy. And he was 5 years old. And that was my first inclination, like, And he, that was my first glimpse of it, and I'll never forget it. And then, like I said, he tried to have that conversation his whole life at the kitchen sink, after dinner walks, and I was just continually taking his spiritual temperature and just hoping that somehow God would not allow me to have a gay son, because I felt like I failed as a Christian. But now I know, after learning about the history of human sexuality and science and evidence, and ultimately hearing testimonies from gay Christians, that allowed me to see that you can be gay and you can be Christian. And so there's been pivotal moments within our family of Parker's coming out. But finally, when he turned 21, he took a stand as a gay man because he met someone. And he said, "Mom, I met someone, and I really need you to be okay about it." And that's when I had to face the reality that my son's gay. And he had to face me, which started out bumpy, but it got better. When Parker when he took a stand as a gay man and said, "Mom, I met someone, I need you to be okay about it," I behaved badly, and I said some things, and I acted in ways that I regret even today. I had to re-examine everything that I believed. I thought I was the only mother with a gay kid in the world, but having these thoughts of that my child was condemned to hell and burning for eternity. I was frozen in that fear. And that's when I really had to reconcile my faith. Like, how could a loving God who knows my son, who I've committed my family to, and we raised our children, reject my son, because my son loved the Lord? And so I had to reconcile all of that. And then I didn't know where to look for resources. But finally, I found a private online Facebook group for moms with gay kids. And there were about 250 moms in the group at that time. And we all had the same story of feeling alienated from our families, from our church homes, even from parts of society, because we absorbed this idea that homosexuality is wrong, that something had to be wrong with our children to make them gay, and that we failed as Christian parents if we acknowledged, tolerated, and don't even think about celebrating this within your child. So all of those things led to a great depression. I was downcast. I learned the true meaning of downcast. I felt every muscle in my face. It was a very difficult time in the life of my family. And until, again, I met moms, and moms learn from other moms, parents learn from parents. And I was seeing how they were learning about the history of human sexuality and science and evidence, and ultimately testimonies from gay Christians. And then it took meeting the community and hearing their stories that changed my mind dramatically. And I no longer believe that homosexuality is a sin. I believe that homosexuality is a gift from God to this world to be celebrated. And what a beautiful dynamic our gay children and trans children and bi children bring to our families and the world around us. And that's what I'm accountable to. That's the work of Free Mom Hugs, is to equip the world to celebrate the community through visibility and education and then conversation. As far as resources at that time, no. I remember going to the bookstore and looking in the Christian section for books specifically for parents with gay kids. And I found one book, and it was written by a woman who had two daughters. One was a lesbian and the other straight. But their straight daughter was in a horrible car accident and killed. And she wrote in her book that she would rather have that she could handle that better than she could having a lesbian daughter. And that didn't help at all. Like, it didn't. Would I rather have a dead son than a gay son? Not at all. And it was very disheartening, very discouraging. And at that time, I even considered conversion therapy because I thought I was saving my son from the depths of hell. But at that time, they're learning more about conversion therapy and what harm and damage and how deadly it is. So it was very difficult. It wasn't until I found that private online Facebook group, and there they had resources. They had faith-based resources, and I needed to hear from someone who shared my faith that it's all right to search this matter out. It sounds absurd to say it now, but I needed permission from someone who shared my faith that it's okay to search this matter out. And when you do, that's when you find the resources that you need to fully accept and celebrate your child as a gift from God, I believe. And so, but they have in this private online Facebook group, Liz Dyer's group, they have resources, faith-based resources, again, science and evidence and books and films and other families who have gone through the journey. And you could just put out all your anxieties in this private online Facebook group rather than putting that on your child. So it was a wellspring. I mean, I cry when I think about what a wellspring of resources that was there, not only in the moms like me, but in the resources that were available there. It really is the difference that made a difference in my life and my advocacy and in the life of my family, because it was a really difficult time, but it doesn't have to be a difficult time. It doesn't have to be a hard time at all. I support my son first and foremost as a mother. A mother wants to make sure that their child is cared for, happy, healthy, and has rights just as much as my straight son. But as we all know, my straight son now has more rights than my gay son. So that's something that I'm advocating for. Being a woman of faith, a mother with a gay child, is to not only make sure that he's taken care of as far as equality, I have a right to the same health care, housing, and things like that, but it's also to provide a spiritual well-being, a spiritual platform. I always got the idea that a mother is a picture of the Holy Spirit, and you guide and you come alongside and you love and you nurture, and that's the fruit of the Spirit. The fruit of God is love. And I see it in the work of Free Mom Hugs, because when we pour into the community and their families like mine, you see the fruit is lasting and it's empowering. And that's where I knew we were doing right, by pouring into the community love, educating, advocating, showing up, being visible and vocal at the water cooler, in our places of worship, in our workplace, is about letting people know where you stand on the issue of homosexuality. And that's where we are accountable as, I believe, human beings, for humanity, and as spiritual beings, to be love, to give love, to just be that loving presence in the lives of those who've been alienated. And the one thing that I heard the most from the community upon first starting Free Mom Hugs, the thing that I heard the most was that they missed this sense of belonging in their home, in their places of worship. That sense of belonging had been taken, or they'd been removed from. And it was devastating. It's devastating even today. And so that's what's at the forefront of everything that we do at Free Mom Hooks. What I wish I would have done when I saw Parker dancing in my dress on the kitchen floor, what I wish I would have done is to celebrate him then, is to just scoop him up in my arms and celebrate him from that very moment, to never have shamed him with the very best of intentions. I wish I never would have shamed him, because I missed an entire part of his adolescent life that I'll never get back. And it was a very difficult time. So I regret that. That's my biggest regret, is not getting to that point sooner. What I would say to a parent who's just hearing the words, I'm gay, or I think I'm bi, or trans, or wherever that spectrum may be, what I would say to a parent is that celebrate your child, or you are going to suffer with them. You find parents who will love and support you through this. You surround yourself with people who will love and support you through this journey, and your child. And if you don't have those people in your life, then you find them, because we're here. We're here. You surround yourself with people who will love and support you and your child through this journey. And again, if you don't have people like that in your life, then you search for them, because we're here. And you celebrate your child, and you allow your child, whether they're 7 or 77, to show you who they are, and celebrate them. What I imagine God to say about my son is that he's beautiful and wonderfully made. What's that saying? Oh my gosh. Fearfully. I think that God would say to Parker that, Parker, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. I created you just the way you are, and you are a gift to this world.